Oh, we're live.
Live.
Go.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Everyone.
Is this the same link? Okay, I gotta click on the link here because
Okay, guys. So, hello, everybody. We were just doing the show. We were talking away with our guest Michael Blue, and we were just kind of like all realizing, like I even wrote in the thing. Do you see? I wrote a message. Can you see my comment? I couldn't figure out. We were not live.
Go ahead and put the beginning up there. The beginning. It's not on here. So if you put it back up, I'll play it for everyone so we can get started. Sorry, everybody, for being late. We were having technical difficulties.
We thought we were live. You know, we've been having the most amazing conversation about the meaning of life. We actually solved it. And now I can't even remember because now we're live and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
and we even had our other host. She was here, Jessie May, and she was popping in and out like a genie. And we were having all kinds of fun with her, trying to get her to be
try again because we have 0 viewers right now. So have Jessie try again, and we'll see if we can get her back in.
Yeah, I'll see if people might have commented. Okay.
Do you want to bring the
might as well bring the This is so funny, guys.
Go ahead and bring the video back up and I'll click on it.
Will we bring the video back on? We'll be like professional.
You could talk to Jessie.
Okay, so let's get the video. Okay, Bonnie, as soon as it comes up, it should start playing. As soon as you let it on.
All right, it's there.
New Earth AC was formed by divine guidance to help lift up humanity and raise the vibration of all. New Earth is a community that started as a Facebook group and has grown to become an online interactive platform for those seeking to uplift, empower, and co-create with one another. On top of uplifting and inspiring posts, we began to connect with our members on a more deeper level. We now regularly host what we call Unity Circles and live stream them on our YouTube channel. Each circle is hosted by a member who wishes to share their knowledge and gifts out to the world in hopes that they can make a difference in the lives of others. You can find these circles inside the New Earth AC Divine Ray store and on our YouTube channel. Please take whatever resonates and let the rest fall away.
All right.
I can't believe how many bad hair days I've had in those videos.
And David, you're always going like this.
Oh my God.
Thank God that you had clean armpits because.
All right.
Hey, I know.
Lord. I'm going to reintroduce Michael Blue. He is a clinical herbalist, Usui Reiki master teacher, practitioner, Urevia practitioner, and astrologer. And we're really excited to have him here today. So I'm going to bring him back in.
Hello again, everyone.
Hello, Michael.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
You as well. Thank you all for having me. It's such an honor to be on
met
here.
Before.
I know, right? I don't know where.
Jessie says that she can see us. We're here. We're live. She can see us now on the YouTube channel.
Good.
Yeah.
We have moved out of the shadow.
All right. So, Michael, what was the first question you asked him, David? That was a really good one. Do you remember?
It was about he was talking about like the power coming in from Jupiter.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like me to just run with that there, Dave?
Yeah, please. That was good.
Sweet. Jupiter in Pisces actually began on January 1st and it goes all the way to May 9th, and Jupiter, we'll start with the planet. I kind of like to break it into chunks to make it a little easier. So Jupiter is a planet. It's rules Sagittarius, and it's also a co-ruler of Pisces along with Neptune. And it's all about expanse, and how can we grow? It's like that arrow going up in the sky, like the glyph. We get that higher perspective and wisdom and philosophy, but it still knows exactly where to land at a single direct point. And especially with Pisces, it's asking us to continue to focus on those belief systems that may be benefiting us or are kind of holding us back. And that's something I think, that really started with the new year here, especially going into Aquarius and Capricorn season, who are ruled by Saturn, which is actually the complete opposite of Jupiter. They call Jupiter the greater benefic and Saturn the greater malefic. So our reality with those kind of higher, dreamier perspectives of Pisces, it's kind of like helping us get focused with stuff as the new year begins.
It was really cool. Back on the 222 portal, I kept looking online. What does it mean? And I wasn't happy with it at all. So I started channeling, and that's when I started getting like something about Jupiter and Uranus coming together, working together for some kind of power coming in. And then they said this is a mega manifestation time, and that kind of makes sense with what you're saying too.
100%. Saturn rules time, karma, all of it. It's the boundary of it's the last planet we can see in the sky with our visible eyes too. So it's interesting how it rules our reality. And the common Saturn return, a lot of people have heard about. That's just as you're about to go into your 30s, it really starts to be like, all right, let's get things a little bit in order here and see what's going on. So and 2 represents balance, in numerology, just trying to find that balance, So.
Yeah, it's a guy I was talking about today. Balance.
Balance, yeah. So, Micheal, what would you suggest for people in these energies that we're going through right now? Because I know you're a Reiki master teacher, so you study the energy and how to work with it when you're trying to do your shadow work and stuff. So how would, with the way the stars are aligned right now, what would you suggest people do to help them through it?
And that's a great question. One of my favorite things is look into nature. The trees, they're very quiet right now. It's if you walk out in the woods, it's just very quiet. And, oxygen's a little less dense right now too. So you end up with a little more out there. I love going to the woods right now. It's one of my favorites. But the big underlying message, I feel like, of the winter season, especially with Aquarius being the opposite of Leo, the sun, is to really find what brightens your inner sunshine, meditation, taking that quiet time for yourself and doing the things you love are just as important now as they were in the summer. And especially with Uranus and Aquarius being associated with that nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, where it can be very sensitive time for our bodies to environments and stuff like that, so it's good to get things moving. I recommend stretching. I know I sent you some breath work, Bonnie, and that's something I've been doing a lot. It helps a lot with the nervous system too. That's something I definitely recommend.
Oh, definitely. You said something interesting, because people really don't get out as much in the wintertime. People stay inside more. And he was saying how different and the density and the difference it is with the oxygen level out there right now, because there aren't a whole lot of people out there. So you do go out there, you're really getting some really strong oxygen. I never thought of it that way. So that's 100%. An interesting fact. That's interesting.
Yeah, I love the woods. If you go out there, you're almost inoculating yourself with all of the plants, the fungi, everything out there, just by even walking and breathing the air. And that just, and the energy of the earth, it just like brings you back. I every time I go out there, it's great. You feel so much lighter.
Yeah, it always makes me feel better. And in the wintertime, I tend to not go out as much because it's so cold. But now you've given me the reason to try and go out more.
Oh, good to hear.
So thank you for that.
Layers, and boots and gloves.
When I used to live in New York, I used to really love going out when it was like, I'm opposite of Bonnie. Bonnie, she wants to just stay inside. She don't like to go out and shovel or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I would be like the first one to like be out there as soon as the snow's coming down. Even as a child, I'd be like, oh, let's go shovel. And I'd be out there shoveling in the nighttime. I just used to love that underneath the underneath the sky.
You know what?
It's slightly falling down and go for walks. I love that time. Even if you have to like put more layers on, it just never bothered me.
Especially how the snow sparkles in the in the moonlight, or
the
sunlight. Yeah.
And it's so fresh. And yeah, I used to love
Crisp.
that.
The air is crisp and fresh, and it's a cleansing, just like it's water dropping down. It's clearing the air, the atmosphere. And I know,
We don't get that.
if I would just get past the cold part.
See, like, we don't get that over here in Ireland. We don't. It's just like a rainy cold, like we don't get the snow. We don't get the joy of going out ice skating and snowmobiling and skiing and all that kind of stuff. But it's just kind of like rain. At the time, I was thinking, because we have a new puppy, and I was going to take him for a walk earlier, and then I said I was going to take him down to the forest where I always go, because I love going down to the forest. And I thought about it, and I thought, no, because if I take him out there, it's just mud everywhere. And I'm thinking, oh, can you imagine? I'm going to have to wash the dog afterwards. I was just like, forget it. I'm not going to take him down there.
Yeah. So I was saying to Robin when I was telling her about you, Micheal, that you bring the astrology down to where anybody can understand it. And so if you were going to describe somebody's chart, if somebody came to you and you wanted to describe quickly what you were doing with their chart, how would you do that?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I'm going to bring up something real quick that you mentioned, Bonnie, that is right in line with this season. So you mentioned like the water coming down. So the water bearer is actually Aquarius. That's its glyph, and it's dumping those heavy watery emotions, which is what the water and elements associated with, into lighter air, that crisp air you breathe. I just want to get on that. So, that's kind of how I look at the charts too, is I really try and take it by different energetical layers. My teacher, Sage Apopham at Evolutionary Herbalism, he showed me just kind of how to work through the layers of the tarot is even associated with it. So I like to break it down first with the modes of astrology. So I'll figure out if you have more kind of cardinal aspects, mutable aspects, or fixed aspects. And that kind of gives me an idea of the underlying constitutions and the things that are kind of running the undercurrents of the flow. And then I'll look at the elemental breakdown in the chart, and just water, fire, air. And I'm kind of only looking at the main planetary bodies there. I also look at the ascendant too, because that's a huge determinant of your actual physical body, and especially if any illness happens, stuff like that too. It's pretty associated with that part of the chart. And then I'll take it to the planets, where we'll kind of walk through the planets, the nodes, Chiron especially, which represents our core wound. He has a very interesting story, actually. And then I'll go through the houses as well. And I like to just kind of weave it together like a story. I would eventually like to start like making like booklets for people that are bound and stuff that kind of like tells their story through the stars and how they're kind of, what they have to say. So.
And I imagine from a higher perspective. Oh, can you hear me? Am I on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
From a higher perspective, when you do somebody's chart and you go into that and their dynamics and how the planets and stars and their numerology plays an importance in their life, that would help them find, better ways to channel their time and energy, and their gifts, right? Like you'd give them almost like a bit of a roadmap, and then they can just take their energy and put it into how they can be in that power of their star alignment kind of. Is that, I'm sure it's worded differently, right? But
oh no, that was spot on, David.
Yeah,
honestly,
well, for example, when he did mine, it was a lot of air and water. And I mean, almost all air and water. So that really opened up, what's air, it's consciousness, where do I work at? I work within the meditations and within the consciousness realm. And I am Cancer, so there comes the water, so
yep.
So starts to make sense when he starts to break it down. But when you just because when he sits down with you and breaks it down, it all makes sense. But when he hands you the whole thing, written up thing that he did, that's when my brain just goes and turns off because it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
but so I recommend that you actually go in and sit down with Micheal, because he can break it down so easily for you, and it all makes sense when he's talking to you.
Well, thank
So
you.
I got a question for you, Micheal. So you mentioned the Chiron woundings. Is that a big part of you being able to like help someone figure out what their core wound is? Is the Chiron wounding basically their core wound?
100%. You know, Chiron was actually a centaur who was a mortal being, and I believe Hercules was on a kind of mission on one of his tasks to take down some other centaurs. I can't remember the exact story of that, but I know he got hit with a Hydra arrow, Hydra poisoned arrow, and he couldn't die, so he just experienced this terrible pain through his life, and then eventually Hercules went to Zeus and said, hey, you know, he's willing to give up his immortality if he can, you know, let go of this pain here. So Zeus said, okay. And he went up and joined them on Mount Olympus there. And, you know, it kind of represents the process that kind of happens when we have to let go of things. You know, it's not always an easy process. You know, it can be painful sometimes. And he actually rules all the plant medicine as well, too, and a lot of the holistic stuff. And yeah, it's a very powerful teacher, especially seeing, you know, from my herbal work as well, you know, seeing like the issues people have been experiencing. It's usually associated with a lot of Chiron and their ascendant. Those are two huge players in that, you know. And then the cool thing, what I like to do is say, hey, say it's in like Taurus. So, hey, let's see where Taurus is at in the chart. Then you can see what other areas it's kind of working through.
And am I right? Like I've been learning from a lady, her name is Alexis Cartwright. I have this book and I learned all about the Chiron woundings, right? But we are actually from now until 2026, I believe we're in Chiron in Aries. And it's all about like power plays and all that kind of stuff are going to be happening and working with wounds around, because I know I actually have that wound, right? And so they say like what your wound is, like when you're coming around and you're coming into your 50 year, like when you're around coming into 50, you're actually going to be your Chiron wound is actually happening in the world at that time, like it's actually here. And and that's why we're seeing a lot of like power plays going on with people, and a lot of people like not standing in their power and learning how to stand in their power and learning that they are they can take up space and that they are like meant to be here. You know what I mean? Like they're allowed to be here. They're allowed to take up space. They're allowed to do whatever it is that they came in to do. And a lot of them were a lot of people with Chiron and Aries wounding. They would have come in as they would come in with a lot of abandonment issues.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool to hear about, and pretty dang spot on, you know, because that is like Aries is that spark of consciousness and awareness. And it's, you know, our society, we live a lot up in our mind here. And Aries rules the head too. So it's bringing that energy back down to the heart so it can be, you know, transmuted properly through the body, I feel.
So knowing that we're in a Chiron and Aries and we will be for until 2026, is there anything we can do as like a collective? Because even if that's not your core wound, but it is like the wound that's happening at the moment, and you find yourself in power plays, you find yourself not standing in your power, you find yourself feeling abandoned or not wanted by other people, what can you do?
Yeah, and that really comes back to what this Aquarius season's about, is really connecting with that self, the inner crystallization of the being, you know. And there is so much going on in the world, and the only thing we kind of control most of the time is ourselves, you know. And I like to think of each of us as little crystals on this, like all positioned on this planet, like a supercomputer of energy, you know. And when one lights up, boom, it just lights up the other, and it's kind of like this huge circuitry. So the more you continue to take that quiet time, connect with yourself, learn about yourself, learn like what you like, what you need, and what you want to grow for yourself. Winter is a great time to write and reflect on that.
And if you're in your heart and you're honest with your own heart, there is no power play because you're in your power. So there's nothing that anybody can do to take it away from you.
Beautifully said, David. It's so true. You know, and it's a practice. You know, I feel like living in the heart space is a practice. You know, Seja at the school, he taught me how a lot of indigenous people actually like connect with plants and stuff is through taking the time to sit with plants and forge a heart connection. Not necessarily say anything, but going to visit, bring offerings, and just taking the quiet time to connect. And that's how you really figure out some of the energetics and how it is associated with the elements and all of that.
It's kind of like going into hibernation for the winter.
Yep.
That's what I feel like we're doing. I even I sat down and I have been trying to read the Emerald Tablets, and that's been kind of like my winter read. You know, like, is anybody, David, you said you were doing some winter reading too. Did you get around to doing any of it?
Yeah. You know what, those, like, there's some things that I like, and then it's just like, you know, it's just I like channeling better, to be honest. Yeah. But I did read a lot. Yeah, I read like 14, 15 books or something like that.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I only read a little bit. I haven't listened to 14, 15 books or so.
It's like, what?
Some people read that like in a week, you know, like I have friends that like read like a book a day. They're crazy, but cool. You know, they're not crazy, but it's just like, wow, impressive that they can read that much.
Yeah. And I like how you all mentioned stuff about the power plays, because, you know, before we kind of got the technical stuff, we were talking about that Pluto return coming on February 20th here. And that's all about working with power. You know, it's ruled by Mars and Pluto. And Mars is all about action, power, kind of some aggressions. And Pluto rules Scorpio, who is all about that. It's a fixed water. And learning to step into that mystery is a huge thing.
You know, it's crazy. So I'm manifesting the other. So when I manifest, I just sit and I'm thinking and I'm focusing on the outcomes, you know, just like, or envisioning what I'm supposed to do next, you know, in this moment and what's in front of me. So I'm thinking about a couple of things, and then all of a sudden my mind starts wandering, right? And thinking about something totally different. And I think it must have been my higher self. It's like, focus. I'm like, what? He goes, he said, this is the exact words, and it just blew my mind. Your thoughts are power. Stop giving them away. And I was just like, whoa, boom. Yeah. So then I went right into focus mode here. Like, okay, I'm really going deep with this one now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's the beauty of that quiet time, because, you know, we do receive so much information. You know, we live in a very technological age with not a ton of natural stuff around us all the time. So it can overburden our nervous system, you know, and that's what Aquarius rules, that peripheral receiving nervous system. And when you take that time and really get that direct focus, fixed air, focusing those mental faculties on what you know and where you want to go. Yeah, and it's cool if it drifts. It makes it fun, you know. And then
like, hey, I know, but I never got like slapped on the hand for like mind drifting before. I was just like, whoa, this must be important. Okay, I'm just gonna keep focusing.
So I've got a question. So you're kind of saying, like, at the moment where the planets are aligned at the moment, that basically it's time to just, you know, sit down and relax and take things in and read, and, you know, just kind of like, it's not really a time to like take action. Is there a time coming during this year where it will be time when you want to start taking action on things, or what? How is the year looking?
You know, honestly, I really think each day here, be it meditation or sitting or reading, those are still actions, you know, and taking that time to always say, hey, what do I want to do today? You know, each day is filled with an abundant amount of planetary energies, and that's why I love journaling and writing so much, is like you're able to say, hey, like, what do I want to do today? And that's usually where I just start, so I don't get too ahead of myself. In winter, because it's all slowing down, it's like prepping the soil. People are like getting their sprouts in the soil and all that. So what seeds do you want to plant, for the spring? What would you like to see grow for yourself? Especially if we're going through some more difficult energies with that Pluto return, and especially with Jupiter and Pisces around, there's a lot of heavy hitters taking place right now, and it's a great time to reflect. But the action points coming up is definitely when Aries starts to come around. That is the ram, and it is the spark of consciousness and awareness. Seja, he had said, it is the cracking of the seed before it starts to take root, and then we're off to the races. So
that's April you're talking about, right?
Yep.
When is that? When is that going to be happening?
In April.
April. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, and then there's something happening. You were saying, see, I get confused with astrology because there's just so much information. Then you said something about something is happening until May 9th.
Oh, yep. So that's Jupiter and Pisces. So through that kind of lens, and this is the cool part there, like you said, there's so many layers to it. And with that being there, it's going to be challenging our belief system at this time. What do we believe? What do we believe in? Do we believe in ourselves? Establishing that relationship, it's going to be putting us to the test. That's what Saturn and kind of Aquarius do, because the tarot cards associated with them are even a little more challenging as well. Like right now, we just went into the 7 of Swords, which is futility, and it makes us face kind of some of our inner demons. And that during that time is a good time to take it easy, eat great food. I say a lot of plants right now, especially just to remind the body of it. Some hearty stuff, potatoes, a lot of that.
And if anybody wanted to get a chart done so that they could, find out more about themselves, how they can benefit from their astrology, how would they find you?
Yep. So through that email, kind of going across the bottom there would be a great spot. I also have a Instagram at the same name there, Blues Alchemical Balms. And I'm happy to do, Zoom meetings, whatever, if you're not in the area. I definitely like to meet. It's always great to go face to face, because for me, the chart's just one thing. You are the reason I'm here, and you have a story to tell all of yourself. And I really want to hear it, and it's so cool to see what I've learned, and just laughs and seeing it all. You see everything, and so I really just like to take the time with people.
Yeah,
cool, man.
I've gotten a reading from him, and it's really amazing, and I really recommend that you get one if you get a chance, because he really breaks it down so that you can understand, all that technical talk.
Thank you. And I feel like the best way to learn is through your own chart, because it when we talk, it brings up stuff that I may not know. I'm just talking about the energy. I never want to tell anybody what to do ever. It's more so of like, hey, here's some information. What would you like to do with it? And I'm happy to help, talk more about how to like work through those parts of that too. So thank you, Bonnie. It was great to meet with you too.
You're welcome.
And if anyone hasn't had a Kasha record reading with her, please get one as well too. That was unbelievable.
So, do you have any more questions, anybody, for Micheal?
It was really cool. He brought up some really awesome points. I think that everybody who's watching right now is interested in astrology for some reason. I just feel like they're interested in their charts, their numbers, and that Micheal can help them with that. And he gave us some good insights with the like Pluto and Jupiter coming in and for this power time here for reflection, and then it's go time in April. So get your stuff, guys. Get it together.
Set your seeds. That's what he's basically saying. Yep. Set your seeds right now, because they're actually going to take. They're actually going to grow very quickly, once April shows up.
Yeah, and you got Jupiter the power coming in, and the independence and all this stuff, and you're starting to see, like, even in Canada, and in Ireland and in other places are starting to reduce mandates and restrictions and stuff, and independence is coming back for pro-choice anyway, which is everybody seems to be pretty happy with pro-choice, right? And then that's only coming on stronger now, right? So that's going to be lots of good things. I'd imagine a lot of good shifts coming for the planet here.
I think it would be fun to have Micheal come back maybe sometime in April when and then
that would be
like maybe give us another forecast of like where we're at in April and what we're going to be seeing coming forward would be really nice.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you. And would you like me to? I do have something as well I'd like to share with people if they are really interested in it and can't really set up a meeting as well.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so one of the best ways to really get into astrology without all of the crazy detail too is to track the moon. It changes signs every couple days, and just write down how you feel. It's a nice little way to kind of like connect yourself with the planets. And the other is to just look at the elements in your chart, not get too into the signs, but just to figure out, hey, what's my dominant element? And the elements, they are the inner projections of those inner workings. So they really run the show quite a bit too, so it's really cool to connect with those as well.
Can anyone kind of figure out like what's in their chart? Like, how would you know what's in your chart? Like, can anybody just go find that information or?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of cool sites out there. There's cafeastrology.com. There's also Astro Charts. They're both some great sites that have a lot of that stuff as well too. And there's some great resources to go to. Just get the intro. No expectation on it. Just pick up as much as you can along the way. That's how I started. I honestly just started. I'm like, wait, what is even the sun? What's the sun? What is it associated with? And then it was off to the races from there. So
cool.
So I'm going to put where they can get a hold of you again at your email up there, Gmail.
And thank you again, Bonnie, Robin, and David, and Jesse. Thank you for having me on here. You guys are a blast to talk with. I was laughing so much this whole time, but that's the best. That's the most important part.
It's too bad we can't remember like that meaning of life discussion before, like when we were talking before we went live. Like, like that was golden information.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next time you come back, when Jessie comes on, she'll actually be able to see you instead of just seeing a circle of blackness.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for being a good sport with all the technical difficulties we were having and stuff,
Yeah. Oh, of course,
This is good. This is a good one.
Right.
This is when Mercury reminds us, hey, to also slow down as well, because you can't fight that,
No. So we're gonna sign off for now, and Michael's gonna come back in April, and we'll get a date, and we'll let you all know about it, and he'll give us an update on what's going on in the stars. So
cool.
Good.
Thank you for listening,
Until
everyone.
Next time.
Okay.
Yeah. Until next time.
You guys.
Bye.
It'll be a new show. It'll be called Micheal in the Stars.